You are listening to the Play to Win podcast, brought to you by P2W Advisory Australia. Every business has a story, a journey of challenge, growth, and transformation. Today, we meet Heena and Kin, the founders of My Second Home, whose path to success was paved with resilience, curiosity, and a powerful sense of purpose. But the journey from passionate founders to strategic leaders requires a different kind of map. Their path forward was illuminated when they partnered with P2W Advisory, who provided the mentorship and structure needed to elevate their leadership and, in turn, their entire business.
I am a woman of color from India originally. I am a mom of two young kids. I am a social impact entrepreneur, which means that all the businesses that I'm involved with is about creating a positive social impact. I am an aspiring politician as well. And out of all the identities, I believe one identity which I proudly share with everybody that I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And that has shaped me to become an advocate for prevention of childhood sexual abuse.
Heena's journey is a powerful testament to how adversity can be channeled into a force for good. It shows that our past doesn't just have to be something we overcome. It can become the bedrock of our mission. But the entrepreneurial spirit manifests in many forms. For others, the journey is one of constant evolution, a relentless pursuit of knowledge that proves our identity is never static.
So I was born and raised in Hong Kong, came to Australia in 2011. One thing kind of I do differently than lots of people is that I try to learn one new skill every year.
Kin's commitment to annual learning speaks to a mind that refuses to stand still. Yet, to understand where we are going, we must often look back to where we began.
I think the biggest lesson that I have learned through my childhood is you can do anything, regardless of whatever has happened to you. I've been through the worst, so I'm not afraid of hitting the rock bottom.
Heena found resilience in profound personal trauma, turning pain into a declaration of possibility. But what happens when the challenge isn't a single event, but the system itself?
During my childhood, I was told that I couldn't do a lot of things. I was one of those students, especially in the educational system in Hong Kong. I asked a lot of questions and I wasn't quite interested in memorizing answers. I always came last in academic results, but I was interested in reading books. So I think inside my mind, I still have a curious mind and I want to learn something new every year.
Kin's story reveals how a rigid environment can inadvertently foster the very creativity it seeks to control. The path to a meaningful career, however, is rarely a straight line.
I grew up in government housing. Both of my parents did not finish primary school. Therefore, I went to one of those worst schools in Hong Kong. And I remember, one of my friends took me to a disco when I was 15 years old. And the next day I went home, I washed my face and I looked at the mirror. And I started asking myself, is this the life that you want? Because I have seen a lot of those people already going to prison. But I think from that point on, I started doing volunteer work and I started helping people, learning from them as well as doing some work. I think the one event that really changed my life was doing volunteer work and hearing those people's regrets and understanding that actually, if you can help people and still make a career, you feel happy every day.
A powerful change of heart, driven by the wisdom of elders. For others, the journey isn't about escaping a dangerous path, but about navigating the expectations of family and culture.
So I did do dentistry back in India as my baseline for my education growing up. But then very quickly I realized that dentistry wasn't something that I was going to be able to do happily for the remaining of my life. There was this burning desire to always do more in the community, and that's where then I came to do my masters of public health. And from there it opened different gates for me for opportunities of working within the community. And that led me into the NDIS space, where I got my first full time job in the NDIS. So, NDIS stands for National Disability Insurance Scheme. In Australia, it is a scheme which is funded by the federal government from the Commonwealth. What this scheme does is it supports people with disabilities to achieve their goals.
A framework for support, designed by the government.
So Second Home is a company that Hina and I started back in 2020. So we did have a lot of knowledge and connection to begin with. So when we started in 2020 with Second Home, we grew pretty quickly. We mainly deliver short-term accommodation, and nowadays we focus on long-term services in-home services. So we provide an accommodation and also support worker alongside with the accommodation.
But running a company, especially in a government regulated sector, presents its own unique set of obstacles. Here, external forces can dictate the very viability of your business, creating pressures that are constant and ever-changing.
If the government changes direction pretty quickly, you have to adapt to those changes. And for a business perspective, you often need a lot of cash. For example, you hire someone and tomorrow their position is no longer valid in the scheme, but you still have to pay the salary, right? You have to help them change, you have to retrain them. So all those becomes difficulties.
The pressures of regulation and economics are immense. But beyond the balance sheets, perhaps the greatest leadership challenge is an internal one. It is the art of aligning a growing team with a core mission, especially when the work impacts human lives so directly.
NDIS is a very heavily compliance regulated industry, and our clients are never just clients. We know that the work that we do actually changes lives. So, just ensuring that everybody on the team understands that as well is can be a challenge.
Maintaining a company's soul while navigating growth is a formidable task. When a business is on the brink, founders need more than just advice. They need a proven playbook. That turning point came through a chance encounter, leading them to P2W Advisory, a firm dedicated to transforming businesses from the inside out.
In early 2025, I joined this volunteer board. So I became a volunteer board member for a community, small community group in Warrandyte. And that's the group that I met Farsad. And when I met Farsad, he introduced himself. He told everyone about his experience, qualification, and what he was going to do. So immediately I spoke to him. I said, look, we need your help. Can you please talk to me and see if you can help us? So because the thing is, when we run a company for the past few years, when the time is good, like those little problems like leakage in services, in cash flow, those are not obvious and it can easily be overlooked. But when times is tough, those problems became very significant. So basically, when I first met Farsad, I told him our situation and what are the things that we needed to do. Since then, we started a 6 months transformation program. So that was from around April. And then we're still going through the transformation program. But right now, I can say that our company has successful in turning around and we are doing a lot better in a lot of ways and being a lot more effective.
A lifeline found in a community boardroom. The engagement with P2W Advisory was more than just a rescue mission. It was an education. For founders without formal business training, the introduction of structure and process can be a revelation, turning intuition into intentional strategy and building the confidence to lead.
The past 4.5 years of starting a business and growing it to $5 million revenue was very exciting. And as Kin said that, when things are good, you don't look into the leakages, you don't spot bad practices. But when there is difficulty, then we kind of look into it. And after we started working with Farzad, we started slowly identifying that where are the main issues and how can we work towards resolving them. For example, team meetings were more like a fun thing instead of having an agenda. We've never had an agenda of meetings before we met Farzad. Like, yes, we would say we are going to discuss this thing, but it wasn't like, there wasn't proper governance. And I think for me, the biggest sort of learning curve was to understand that why we do require governance, why do we need to track people's work. And it's no longer just because I trust you, I'm gonna let you do anything, but actually measuring the work. And as Prasad always says, what gets measured gets improved.
A simple principle, yet a transformative one. It speaks to the power of making the invisible visible. So why build from scratch when you can build from experience? For many entrepreneurs, the true value of an advisor lies in accessing a blueprint for success, one that has been tested and proven.
So I think one of the biggest advantage of having an advisory board is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You get an advisor, you know what other people, what big companies are doing, what are the method they are using, and then you customize it to your company. So governance is only a small bit in that picture. Now we have system to understand how much we're earning from each of the shift, not just like as a whole in a month, how the company is doing, but in each day, each shift, are we earning enough margin?
The wisdom of not reinventing the wheel is what separates struggling businesses from scaling ones. With a stable foundation now firmly in place, a leader's gaze naturally turns to the horizon.
The big vision for my second home is to provide services to more people in remote communities in Australia.
So apart from what we're doing with Second Home, we also partner up to start this new company called A Simple AI. So what we have learned from our own transformation and the tool that I have built for Second Home, we think that it will benefit other companies too.
Their vision has expanded from one company to two, from helping individuals to helping other businesses. For those looking to follow in their footsteps, the parting advice is not about strategy or finance, but something far more fundamental. It starts with a simple, yet profound, question of motive.
I would always tell people who are wanting to join the NDIS space is join with the right intentions. A lot of people join with the intention by seeing, oh, this is a multi-billion-dollar scheme of the government. They often forget to reflect on their why and why they want to enter the space.
The why must come from the heart. And beyond that intention comes a commitment to continuous education. Because in a field with no set curriculum, the responsibility to learn rests squarely and heavily on the leader's shoulders.
When you work in the NDIS, it's almost like you are working as, like a therapist or a nurse. You do require to know a lot of things about the industry, regulations, about the diagnosis and stuff like that. So self-learning becomes very important. And I guess talking to the right people, getting the right team to help you achieve that is very important. But at the end of the day, as director, as owner of the company, you need to know most of the things.
A truly inspiring story of resilience and a reminder that the right guidance can change everything. A huge thank you to Heena and Kin from My Second Home. Their journey from surviving to thriving is exactly why Play to Win Advisory exists. We are privileged to work alongside business owners who have the passion and grit to succeed, providing the strategic support they need to navigate growth. The incredible success of My Second Home is a direct result of their hard work. And we are proud to have been the partner that helped them unlock their full potential. Thank you for joining us today on the Play to Win podcast.